What if you could be a part of advancing healthcare? What if your participation could also help improve lives? If you had the opportunity, would you sign up for a clinical trial?
A trial isn't a last resort. It's not the end of the rope. It's just another option for you. And it's one that I would highly, highly encourage people to do.
I'm a firm believer in the advancement of the science. And so whatever little part that I contributed, I'm thrilled and happy to have been part of it.
For these individuals, participating in a clinical trial was an important decision. They looked at potential benefits and risks in trying to determine, is it right for me? Clinical trials provide a way to test new surgical procedures, diagnostic therapies, vaccines, medications, and devices. This process naturally takes time, but it is necessary in order for the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to have the data it needs to consider approving it for use. Baylor Scott & White Research Institute supports this process by helping enroll patients in these clinical trials. The Research Institute is focused on expanding access to clinical trials and making more patient-facing studies available through Baylor Scott & White medical centers and clinics.
If you've got a cancer, you can't wait 20 years. You need the treatment today. So the more clinical trials we can do, the more likely we are to get a new therapy, if not for you, and we hope it would be for you, but if not for you, for your children, for your friend, a loved one.
When a person agrees to participate in a research study, the process is called informed consent. They are acknowledging that they understand and accept all aspects of the study. As part of the process, it's the volunteer's responsibility to ask questions such as, what is the purpose of the study? What are the chances that this will work? What are the risks? How much of my time will this take? Do I have to pay for any part of the study? Can I withdraw? The main reason for participation in a research study is to advance science. But there are various types of research. In some studies, a participant may be one of the first to receive an investigational drug or device. In other instances, the study may use a participant's biological specimen, such as a blood sample, to investigate new treatments or screening options for the disease.
The Baylor Scott & White Inherited Colorectal Cancer and Polyposis Syndrome Registry is a program that we support here at Baylor University Medical Center to provide both a clinical service and a research program that studies patients with inherited cancer syndromes. On the research side, the registry also supports a large database that includes clinical data and biosample data, usually in the form of a blood test, that we share with our lab here to perform basic science research.
In addition, participating in a clinical trial is a way to pay it forward on behalf of those who volunteered before. For Dr. Becerra, research is personal. His dedication to cancer research comes from his family experience with leukemia.
Back when I was in medical school, my dad died of acute leukemia, and I was like in third year medical school then, and I started doing some investigating. I found out quickly that the treatments that we had at that time were suboptimal. There's two options there. Either despair and look away, or try to do something about it. And that's what motivated me to go into clinical research.
Terry Rogers appreciates the passion and drive of researchers like Dr. Becerra. After fighting melanoma with aggressive treatment, her cancer returned. This time, doctors suggested she consider volunteering for a clinical trial at Baylor Scott & White Research Institute.
We discussed it as a family, but not only just within our own home, we discussed it with Baylor as well. And I think overall, it was a family decision by all. It was a win-win for my personal family and my Baylor family.
Terry's cancer went into remission, yet she stays informed on advances in research should things change in the future. Clinical trials are conducted in steps or phases. Individuals such as Terry and Patrick may be recruited at each phase depending on their particular condition and purpose of the trial.
We want to have treatments available to all Americans, so that means we include both genders. We want young and old, and we want as many ethnicities and races as possible.
Even though you volunteer for a clinical trial, you must first meet all eligibility criteria to be officially enrolled. In addition to being under the oversight of entities like the National Institutes of Health and other study sponsors, as well as the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, all clinical trials must work through an institutional review board, which is tasked with ensuring all trial activities, from start to finish, are properly regulated and administered.
We want to be sure that when we go to the patient and we ask them to get involved in something like this, that we put all the protection in there, that this is, first of all, as safe as it can be, but it will be complete and it will help the future of medicine and the future of mankind.
Baylor's Scott & White Research Institute has nearly 2,000 active studies going on every year. Some of these studies have led to treatments for breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, melanoma, prostate cancer, lung cancer, and blood cancers. People taking part in the research process are advancing the practice of medicine, helping to bring breakthroughs that could mean something to them, their families, and others in the future.
The benefit of being part of a clinical trial, whether the Inherited Colorectal Cancer Registry or other clinical trials, is both direct and indirect. The patient directly benefits from a clinical trial by potentially receiving therapies that may improve their lives. Indirectly, donation of a patient's clinical information can translate into advancement in the field of their disease, which can better the care for patients to come. It's a powerful message that one patient can have the potential to affect so much change for greater good.
They're basically joining us in the research team, because without them, we can't bring this research to the patient.
So as you consider participating in a clinical trial, ask yourself, is it right for me? And know that Baylor Scott & White's vision is to become your most trusted source for healthcare services, bringing innovation directly to the patient's bedside.